recording if you believed in a God, all-powerful God, what might explain what happened this past week in this situation? Why did it happen? And from what you've now heard about Buddhism, classes you have heard, what would you say happened here? Why did this happen? So just have you end this meditation. Just come out, tucking your chin in. Giving your hands a nice rub. Cupping over your eyes. And maybe just pausing this video for a second so you can just move your body, shake out some of the lingering uncomfortable feelings you might have felt from hearing this. And I will continue in a second. I'm just going to use the washroom. My apologies if the story was upsetting. I definitely can understand if it was. It's, not something you want to hear. And definitely a shock to all of us, especially when it wasn't just a death by accident. So, I did ask the questions, of how Western science, which has definitely worked to try to explain things in our world, explained how things are made up of atoms, can explain something like this. And I'm not going to claim to be an expert in it, but I think you might agree, based on, the information I know and shared, that maybe they might see the mom as having, something mentally that led to what she did. Before I heard the last statement about her being in the hospital for something mentally related, I had to admit I had this, hope, or I felt this, what did I tell myself? I was like saying I did have, 2 boys, and I do remember there were a few times, one in particular, where I was super, super upset. And, I didn't put my hands around my son, but I basically threw him outside, kind of outside a doorstep, threw him onto the grass. And, when I did it, I was really upset. And had there been maybe a rock or something that he landed on, it could have caused, it could have been a serious injury. And I regret that to this day. Luckily it wasn't. He landed on grass, which I saw was there. But that anger that came over me was something that I told myself when I first heard this, like maybe she was so angry that she, put her hands around her child, and then, because supposedly they then took the child to the hospital and then pronounced that she was passed away. And so I was wondering whether that was the case. Hearing about, a little bit more about it, that I'll say that isn't really the case. But I think more important, before I kind of continue on, is, maybe I will share that supposedly the mother did strangle her daughter and called her husband and told him that she had done this. And the husband was in shock and did not know what to do, and asked his boss, and his boss said, call 911, call the police. And that's when the police and all the emergencies came to the house and brought the child to the hospital, arrested the mom, and this is where they found, when she was at the hospital, that unfortunately there was too long a time that the young child had no air, no oxygen in the brain, and so wasn't going to be able to survive on its own. And so they took it off life support. So, why this happened, maybe, Western science will, definitely do a psychiatric diagnosis for the mom to determine whether she was sane enough to know what she was doing. Though according to, I guess, this more private news that I'd heard, that she was doing this because she thought that she could bring her daughter to the afterlife. So by killing her, this would accomplish that. And I don't know whether it'll come out in the news, but supposedly the husband had told family members the information came to my wife that, I don't know whether it was a Buddhist god that supposedly she was following or watching on YouTube that gave her this message to do this. But again, coming back to the questions I asked, if you do believe, or you can imagine one believes in a all-powerful God, this is one of the questions, that those who don't believe in God have definitely asked. Like, why would an all-powerful God allow these tragic things to happen, like a 2-year-old to be killed? Why do wars happen? Why is there famine, suffering? If there's an all-powerful God, why can't he get rid of all this suffering? So, yeah, this is one to consider, because in this class we'll talk about, how Buddha isn't all powerful. He doesn't have that ability to remove our suffering, to change our karma. How you're feeling today, prior to coming to class right now, is, if it doesn't feel good, if you didn't feel good physically, mentally, emotionally, what happened earlier today, yesterday, earlier in the week wasn't good, it's not something you had control over. But the good news, according to Buddhism, is that you are burning off bad karma from the past. And that, if you believe in this, you believe in karma, then it should make you feel better. That all your pain and suffering, there is a reason for, right? And then that the good things that you've experienced earlier today, maybe in what you consumed, they're the fruits of also actions you've done, things that you've done to others, which have grown and magnified. So, as I said, to kind of give you maybe a Buddhist explanation of this unfortunate tragedy, that you could say, is that the young child did not have the karma to live very long. To only have less than 2 years. It wasn't even 2 fully yet. Though on the other hand, one could argue that it had the good karma to not have grown up as a child for this mother. Right? That's another way to see it. Some other thought that my wife and I talked about. But to give you a little more news, supposedly the mother is a very caring mom. She actually has another daughter, I think 8 or 9 years old, that she's very protective towards, takes really good care of. That when they went back to the house just a few days ago, the mom had actually prepared dinner for both children and for the husband who was at work. The father actually is a very absent father. He's there in body, works, comes home, plays video games, and sleeps, and then goes back to work. Doesn't really care about the children, take care of them. The mother does that. And if there's anything about her parenting, it has been that she's been overprotective. So this, if your questions in your mind was like, oh, is she not wanting to have the kid, that's not, definitely, there's no evidence for that. So again, the information that we heard from the husband was that she had wanted to bring her daughter to the afterlife, and supposedly was sacrificing this. The first class of this one, I told you about one explanation of Buddhism, that though Buddha, images of him are all over the place, they're really not meant, to be celebrated like a god, that, again, that they don't have all these powers. Though, the historian has explained that there are many other Buddhas, and some branches of Buddhism believe these specific Buddhas are able to offer certain, they have certain skills and gifts, and some have made them kind of like a deity, like a god, that if they make offerings to and worship, that they will get the fruits of what they offer. So Tibetan Buddhism isn't that, you wanted to make that very clear. If it comes out later on, the story is the mom did this because of Buddhism. I would say most who know about Buddhism know that the difference between Buddhism and maybe Christianity, main difference, they both have like misdeeds not to do, keeping your morality. The Christians have the 10 Commandments. Buddhism has the 10 common misdeeds. Some of them are very similar, not killing, not stealing, but that, Buddhism doesn't believe there is an all-powerful God. And this is, this class talks about that. And it's talking about how can something that is unchanging, supposedly like a God who has always been, create change? Things change, supposedly in our conventional world, right? Things happen, things grow. So can something that's unchanging create something that is changing? Because if we all admit we're living in a changing world, an unchanging thing would have to change because the object of their creation is changing. So this is the logic, the argument is that an all-powerful being cannot create a changing thing. So, according to Buddhism, and this is where I'm going to take you into the bathroom in a second, they say we are individual mind streams. And so I brought a package of spaghetti here to that in this continuum that we are, that I'll say for myself Hogan is, there will be this set amount of time that I exist as Hogan, and then supposedly my body will die, the memory of being Hogan will be gone, and my mind stream will reincarnate as possibly one of the three lower beings, hell, a craving spirit, an animal, or have the great fortune to come back as a human, or as a demigod, or as a god. But supposedly our mind stream, we'll have the proof of that because this course is about that we have past lives, we have future lives, are like an eternal spaghetti with no beginning or no end that will continue to exist. And supposedly this child who came into this life 2 years ago has gone back in what they call the bardo, and for the next 49 days, but it could be as short as 7 days, we'll find another, will be reincarnated into their next life. And so we exist on this, and as many beings as there are as many threads of spaghetti as there are. I did believe I heard Geshe Michael Roach said it according to Buddhism, so there's a finite number. It's not like they continue to, multiply, but yeah, this is how we exist. And what may be difficult, I think, for us as humans to really have this concept of is something that's eternal, no beginning, no end. But for now, just assume, as I said, that analogy of a spaghetti, an endless, long stream. So, according to Buddhism, we are this mind stream, and it is changing, So I'm going to take you into the bathroom. They say that our mind is like a mirror, right? And as a mirror, what is, there's many qualities of the mind, but one quality of the mind is that what you put in front of it becomes what it is. So for example, if I put this green piece of paper in front of the mirror, what does the mind become? Green. And maybe in our next reincarnation, we are red. Now, it might seem like a pretty basic example now that I shared it with you, but it's saying that our mind is changing. And so that this is supposedly another proof that there is no all-powerful being, God. Buddha is not all-powerful. The only way he really helps us is through teaching. That we have to change our mind stream. We need to burn off all our bad karma and accumulate enough good karma to become a Buddha ourselves. He cannot suddenly snap his fingers, and if he could, then, he would. Why would we have to suffer? This is the argument against having God. Why does God allow us to suffer when supposedly he's all powerful? Couldn't he just, get rid of all our problems, all the famine, poverty, war, like that? Not allow young children to die, moms to have mental illness. But just know that the argument again is that no unchanging thing like a God could create something that's changing. But what it does, what Buddhism does say is that Buddha, and maybe like a God, is omniscient, not omnipotent, which is all powerful, but omniscient, which is that they know all things, past, present, future. And it isn't, what they want to share in this class is that it isn't about that they know about every rock on the earth, or it's not the trivia of the things in our world, but what they say is things that you should give up and things that you should take up to allow us to become a Buddha. Things that you should give up, kind of like the focus on fame or money, approval from others, things to give up, or things that you should take up, like thinking of others, sacrificing ourselves, keeping our vows, things that will help us towards, you know, getting rid of our mental afflictions. You know, some of us may believe that meditation is a way to have peace mentally. It really isn't according to Buddhism. It's a way to learn to focus our mind. That until we get to the state of nirvana, we will be plagued with any one of the 84,000 mental afflictions. The main 6 are, they say, mentally ignorant desire. That means wanting things, being prepared to do something bad to get what we want. Ignorant aversion, that we will try to avoid doing something we don't like. Also, even willing to do something not good to avoid something we don't like. Ignorance itself. It is just, ignorance itself is seeing that, believing that things exist outside of us. It's not been created by us, by our past karma. Pride, anger, jealousy are the other 3. These are the top 6 mental afflictions that we continually have, that disturb our peace of mind, right? That we won't have when we're able to get rid of them. So again, coming back to, as we get closer and closer to enlightenment, Buddhahood, we will be more and more clear with the things we should give up and the things we should take up. That the official definition of karma, if I asked you to tell someone else what is karma, you might go, well, I won't say what it is for you, but they say, according to Buddhism, it is any movement of the mind and what it inspires us to do. So any thought, that may lead into something you say or do is karma. So we're constantly creating karma. And this is why, practicing more is not meditating necessarily more, and not studying more, but is being more and more aware of what we're thinking. And meditation I led you to was to recognize that things that happen to us, often the initial reaction is not something that we can control. You might be drinking your favorite drink, expecting, because of the past, that it was going to taste good, and then today, I don't know, maybe suddenly it's cold when it should be warm. It's a little more bitter than when you thought it should be sweet. Maybe it's all gone bad. I just drank some carrot juice that I made a few days ago, and I thought it'd be, this would be sweet. It was horrible. So this is where, the initial karma we receive is usually from our past. But what if I suddenly then, next thought is like, oh, it's my wife who kind of put something in it. Or, my son, he didn't wash the jar properly, and that made the carrot juice spoil. And if I kind of continue playing that in my mind and then getting more angry and blaming him and thinking, oh, this is what I'm going to do when I see them, I'm going to chew them out, then, we're accumulating a lot of not so good karma. So yeah, being aware of what you feel, and then kind of going, okay, if this is heading down the road where we are going to be planting seeds of not good karma, planting weeds, I would say, in our garden of life, then we need to stop and, as I say, I'll take a look at time. If we do, go over how to purify not so good karma, right? So again, hopefully that kind of covered a little more about omniscience. And karma. That Geshe Michael Roach says, it does matter for us to know who made the world. What causes accidents, what causes the beautiful sunsets we may see, or the beautiful things that we enjoy. Because, when I did hear this story, there are many different reactions, but I did notice that at the end of the initial day, I felt this sense of compassion for, as I said, the mother, thinking that, it might have been an accident of anger that caused this. Even now, as I know more, she really did believe she is doing the right thing. Supposedly, her day in hearing where she was emotionless is a sign that she doesn't feel bad of what she did. Still draws from me compassion that I do know, also according to Buddhism, that if you do an act, even do a misdeed without that intention, like just say you take something that you think was yours or was just lost there, or you accidentally, you're right, kill something, like we step on grass and we have killed many animals with insects without knowing, that we don't receive the full brunt of the bad karma from it, because that is not our intent. So I definitely hope that is what this mother will, receive. So I guess the final bit of this class was what is the proof that Buddha is unerring, is the authority figure that we can rely on when we're trying to figure out if something is true. They say the test for that is to either see it with our five senses, our eyes or ears or nose, smell or taste, that if we have one of those senses, then something's true. And if we cannot with something, that through deductive reasoning, through thinking it through, we can figure out if something is true or not. In this situation, as more information was given, it can clear up more, it can lead you to what really happened. Okay? But what about, things like karma? That we can't say we observe with our five senses. We can't tell if it really exists. I mean, there is logic to explain it, that science can't seem to explain why, certain things happen. Why did the mom not sacrifice the older child, Why did my meditation teacher's partner get in an accident where the 18-wheeler turned into her and not into someone else. How did she survive that? Well, karma seems to offer that explanation, but they say the third test is then to, depend on an authority figure, someone who is unerring, who tells the truth all the time. I remember when I heard this, I was thinking, yeah, probably at a young age, at some point, we thought our parents were that. I'm sure I did at many points rely on my mom for answers on things I didn't know. Who else to ask, right? There's no actually Google or ChatGPT at that time. My sons definitely ask me about many things, and I've tried my best to tell them the truth. When some things, if I went back to re-answer now, might be a different answer because I've learned something different. So I would say there isn't very many examples of that, but so far, maybe a not as good example is, when I'm asking facts about when someone was born, or how many, asking a biography on somebody. I really enjoyed watching the Michael Jackson movie. I was asking questions about that. I feel like I rely and believe in what Google or ChatGPT replies to me about those facts. Yeah. So what makes Buddha then unerring, that we can believe in what he says about karma? These 4 principles of karma, that it grows, and good leads to good, bad leads to bad. Without an action, there's no result, and you only get the result if you have the action. Why are those statements true? Why can you believe them? Well, what they say is that, the Buddha's first noble truth, first Arya truth. Do you remember that? Life is suffering. Officially, it's kind of like he says all changing things are suffering. Once things are created, they change. This is supposedly the proof of why Buddha is unerring. In that he is the only one and the first one to share this truth. So I've said it before that it really has been the statement that has changed my life. But I used to believe, probably at my core, that life is beautiful, that all bad was going to lead to something good. That if I can find a way to keep balance, treat people nicely, learn from my mistakes, do the right thing, I could have happiness. I really, really, really tried, I did my best to, whatever I thought would, at an early age, felt going to a high school with a lot of rich kids that, they had all these experiences I didn't get to have as coming from a poor family, wanting to have those experiences, not wanting to waste time. Watching movies where, love seemed to be what made you happy, wanting to have that. Thinking, having experiences of traveling, moving away from home, being on your own, going on a road trip would be things that make one happy. I did those things. you know. Whatever I thought, follow your dreams, do what you love, that's what I did. I did take a safe job. I wanted to open my own thing, business. Having a family, believing that making time for them is more important than buying things for the kids is what I did. I thought that would make me happy too. And they did. In a lot of ways, they brought a lot of joy and happiness in my life. And though I am so blessed, I recognize that I really don't have control over anything as much as I try to control many things. I want to have wake up and have an amazing day, and some days I wake up and I'm like, I'm so tired, my body's so sore, I feel so groggy, and sometimes it's I'll go to bed earlier, I'll stretch more before I go to bed, I won't play so hard with tennis, do certain things to prevent it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's what they say. It's like medicine, treatment, financial advice might work, and the opposite might work for someone else. If there was one medicine that cured all cancers, wouldn't we all be doing it? There's nothing that we really have control over. Things are out of our control in this life. And that no matter how well you take care of yourself, and my mom is definitely a gold standard for that. She's getting older, and she is, 82, a few aches and pains, but no matter what, she will be passing away one day. And, if you believe in the rebirth, they will have to redo it all over again. And I'm sure there's parts of your life, parts of all our lives that I wish we could just skip through. I can admit, despite all the high points in my life, it'd be nice to fast forward through the not so nice points. As my teacher said, you've suffered enough. And I go, yeah, I did. And what goes up goes down. I've shared it enough. Like Olympic gold medal athletes have their worst year after they win. That's what they've dreamt their whole life about. I can say, middle-aged men, I won't say for women, but yeah, you've done everything, you've been a father, you've worked your hardest on your career, helped your family, partner, and then what else is there to do? Things are not, my hair is not getting blacker, I'm not looking younger, and that when we die, what are you, any of you, what are we taking, what can we take with us, my wife's collected, like 20 luxury bags that are in, like, is she taking any of them with her? My hockey cards that I hung on to for all this time, am I taking them with me? People laugh at my old Beetle that's kind of looking dumpier by the day. Like, are they taking their new shiny electric Tesla along with them? Yeah, your family, your friends, like, they can all be beside you and they're not going to go with you. So life is suffering is something I can't deny. If you do, keep doing what you think will make life beautiful, and keep seeing if that will happen. I was going to ask you, whatever you consume that you like, keep eating it, keep consuming it, see if it really is why you feel good, and eating more of it or continuing consuming it should keep you feeling good, right? Have chocolate, keep eating chocolate. It should make you feel good, but it doesn't. So that's proof, supposedly, that the happiness isn't in the chocolate. It isn't because of the chocolate. It's because you've been giving something good and delicious to someone else. And if you continue doing so, even eating rice will be joyful and blissful for you. So, just this first noble truth, not even his other ones, that the source of suffering is ignorance, is believing that things exist out there. Just that life is suffering, by him saying that, and by that being what we see and observe and can believe in, the first two tests, is what makes Buddha unerring, is why he can be the authoritative figure that we can rely on for things that we can't directly perceive or can't figure out in our mind. So I shall end class by, I'll just quickly go over the 4 purifications, because I'm sure in this coming week or day you may do or say or think something that you might not want turned to you. So one is to simply recognize that, without any recognition that, thinking badly about someone else, for example, just say if you thought, this mom who killed his daughter is so evil, she should be like hung, like, you have a right to feel that thought. But if you continue, share this story with others and continue saying that, that is a karma you're putting out, and you think that's okay, you can't even purify that, right? So we have to recognize it, have regret for it, and then remember what karma is, that it is any movement of the mind, that it is going to grow, and that you could say this example, thinking badly of this mother is thinking badly of someone is going to be something that you will receive. One day someone will say, someone dear to you or not, will say something that you don't like. They'll, make a judgment on you that maybe you don't deserve, but that you don't like. Where did that come from? It came from the thoughts of thinking, judging others without knowing the whole situation. So just remembering how karma works is the second step in purifying. The third one is making a pledge on how long you're not going to do the same thing. So maybe if it's something that's a habit for you to think poorly of someone, maybe let's just be really conscious and make a short pledge, like, okay, for the next half hour, whatever anybody does that I don't like, I'm not going to think ill of them. Maybe there's some reason they did it, right? It can be as short as 5 minutes, 1 minute. Start with something that you can keep and then slowly grow it, and then the last one is to do something to an antidote for it, to compensate for it. They say you can repeat doing studies, creating a mandala, doing some chanting. But they say the most powerful is to do a meditation on emptiness. Meditation on emptiness. And that can be as short as just kind of running through what we did last week. Maybe that's what I'll end with. Right? So you come into sitting if you're not already. Close your eyes. Pick an object that you can just see, look at. Then close your eyes, visualize it. Just see how your mind naturally believes that object is out there on its own. But normally the default is that we believe it exists out there, when the truth, according to Buddhism, is that it comes from us. That it is coming from our mind, that they say is in our heart. That comes from seeds that have ripened from our past. Imagine kind of like from your heart, you're projecting, like in a movie theater, this image. And you could say just like in a 3D movie, the object looks 3D. You're projecting this object in its 3-dimensional shape. Even better, your projection is 4D. If you touch it, you can feel its texture, firmness, or lack of it. Now imagine the projection ends. The projector in the movie theater cuts off. Projection in your heart disappears, which it does when you walk out this room and look at something else. Imagine when that projection is gone, what is left there? What is left in a movie theater when the projector is off? Say holding this lack of projection is not easy, and that you can come back to this step and keep dropping that projection and seeing if you can stay there. They say it's like holding a fish, slippery, hard to hold on to. But that can be a simple meditation, the one that we did last week. So we'll end off the class. So open your eyes, dedicating the goodness from this class to your future enlightenment. So we'll do that in Tibetan. Gewadi kewo kun sunam yeshe zok zok sheng sunam yeshe lejong wei dampa kunyin topar shok. I'll do the 3 prostrations, and just for not to take more time, we'll do the short one. Body, speech, and mind. Body, speech, and mind. Giving thanks for the teachings. thank you again for listening to this class, watching it. We'll see you class 6. Namaste.